Welcome to Pink Radio with Prestige. This is the place for you, the diva boss entrepreneur who needs quick tips on building your crave-worthy brand. This is your host, Nicole Doss, CEO of the Prestige Society, a membership organization for women entrepreneurs who believe in building powerful networks while slanging in their industries. So I want you to go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee and get your favorite tips right here with Prestige.
Hey, fabulous ladies of the Pink Radio with Prestige. So listen, I'm sorry, my throat's just a little on the rough side, but today we are going to talk all about being a trusted resource. I want that to just sit with you for a while because I want you to think about, as we continue on with the conversation today, are you a trusted resource? It is absolutely important for you to be seen as a trusted resource if people are going to buy your services, buy your products, work with you. Because if you are not a trusted resource, if they can't really think of you as a subject matter expert, then the question becomes, why should they spend their money with you? Now, of course, we talk a lot about the golden circle of why that Simon Sinek talks about in his TED Talk. But the reality is that once we start talking about why we do what we do, how we do it, and what it is that we do, we need to be able to have it on a foundation of something as so substantial as because I'm a subject matter expert. So because I'm a subject matter expert, this is why I do it, how I do it, and what it is that I do. And if the golden circle of why confuses you, then I would love to invite you to take a look at Simon Sinek. That is S-I-M-O-N, Simon. Sinek is S-I-N-E-K. And look at his YouTube TED Talk of the reason why. Because that's a whole nother talk for a whole nother day. So I definitely want you to begin to get very comfortable in asking yourself this question: am I a trusted resource? And it's okay if right now the answer is no, but we're going to talk about how you get there. All right, my sound is getting on my nerves, and I think it's because I'm using these headsets through my laptop, but we're going to go ahead and get right to the point. So with every conversation that we have here at Pink Radio, we have this conversation starting with 3 tips. But what we want to do is jump right into tip number 1. So tip number 1 is very easy. And the question is, at the end of the day, how consistent are you? Now, this didn't come to me because I sit on high and look down low. Oh no, this came to me because of something I was struggling with, where I literally said, I want to write the word consistency across my chalkboard wall. So I have about 3 walls of mine are all black chalkboard walls, and then I have a hot pink accent wall. So on my one main chalkboard wall, I write everything on it, and I realized I wanted to clean all that off and just put one big word on there, and that's consistency. So I want to share with you a little bit about the importance of consistency, why you need it, what this means for you, and how you can begin to build your brand through consistency. So here we go. The first thing I want you to think about is consistency in the way you operate. Say that with me. Ready, guys? Consistency in the way I operate. All right. When we talk about consistency in the way that you operate, what we're talking about here is, how often do you thank your customers for shopping with you? How often do you tap them and ask them for feedback and reviews? How often do you reach out to them using email, Constant Contact, or MailChimp, or whatever email marketing is your poison or your preference? How often do you touch base to make sure people are satisfied with you? How often do you touch base with your customer or even your target market? Because trust me, the two are not the same. Your customer buys with you, your target market is who you want to buy with you. Some may buy with you, and others are maybe not even aware that you exist. How often consistent are you when it comes to reaching out to that group and asking them what is important to them to ensure that the services or products that you are creating solves the problem that your target market and your client base is currently experiencing. This is very important. And the reason why it's important is because at the end of the day, your business exists so that you can provide a solution to the problem that they are experiencing. We talk about this all the time, so we won't stay in that space. But the question is, how consistent are you with interacting with them in that space? Okay. So consistency in the way you operate. So you want to ask yourself, how consistent are you? Then we're going to move into consistency in the way you market. Absolutely. Now remember, this is all going towards being a trusted resource. And remember, you can't determine if you are a trusted resource. See, your targeted market, your tribe, the people who you want to actually interact with your brand, see, they're the ones that are going to determine whether or not you are a trusted resource or not. So the question is, are you, in their eyes, a trusted resource? So the first thing we're going to talk about is all around consistency. And then we're going to move on to tip number 2. But within consistency, I have 3 points. First one is consistency in the way that you operate. And the second point is going to be consistency in the way that you market. I want you to think about your current social media feed. I want you to think about the way that you actually have this amount of, crazy amount of videos, suggestions on books you should read, suggestions on workshops that you should know more about, suggestions on apps that you should download. I want you to think about all of those things that currently live in your feed. Some of it is there organically, some is there by design. It is a lot. How many times has your friend said to you, and I'm just talking about your friend, we're not even talking about business, but how many times has your friend said to you, hey, did you see that post I just put up? And you're like, oh no, girl, I didn't see it. And you know you should have, because although you're supposed to be at work or working your business 8 hours a day, you somehow find the time to peruse your social media feed. So even with that time that you have to peruse your social media feed, you somehow missed that one post. It happens all the time. So then you as a business owner, when you begin to think of the way that you post your social media for your business and you want to post it one time, you are not being consistent in the way that you are marketing your business. I used to have a boss that said to me, she always called me by my last name. Her name is Darlene Williams, and she is like beyond phenomenal. So I always give a lot of kudos and celebrate her because her fabulousness as a leader has definitely played a huge part in who I am as a leader. And I've learned so many lessons from her that I will always be thankful and grateful. And that's reminding me now I need to call her because she called me and I did not call back, and that is not okay. So with that, Darlene used to always say to me, Doss, you have to be able to communicate to your people 7 different times in 7 different ways, because at the end of the day, they didn't get it the first time. They didn't get it the second time, and they darn sure didn't get it the third time. And so every time I used to say to her, but Darlene, I told them, and she would just cut me off and say 7 different times, 7 different ways, Doss. How awesome is that? How phenomenal is that? That is something so simple that can be said, but how incredible, and not in a good way, is it that we fail to operate in that space? So when you begin to think about your social media efforts, I want you to think about 7 different times, 7 different ways. How many times did you tell people about that one product that you were hoping to sell? Because if you posted it once and then got your little underwear in a tizzy because you did not get the results that you wanted to get, I want you to think about that friend who asked you if you saw that post that you didn't see, although you know that you devote a lot of time to looking through your social media feed. There's just way too much information out there. And like I said before, some of it is done organically, but there are tons of it that is there by design, by the use of logarithms that follow the way that you currently browse, your shopping behaviors, your shopping preferences, all of those things contribute to some of those things that show up in your feed. So it's extremely important for you to understand that there is a need for you to have consistency in the way that you market, especially when we talk about marketing using social media. All right. And the last, but definitely not least piece of it around consistency is going to be your consistency in how you show up as a subject matter expert. And just for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to use the word SME. SME. So when I say a SME, say that with me. SME. Okay, great. When we talk about SMEs, we are talking about subject matter experts. So, how many times do you have a podcast about whatever it is that you are stating that you are an expert in? How many times do you write a blog in the area that you're stating you are an expert in? How many times do you host a live in the area that you share that you are an expert in? How many times do you send out email notifications via your email campaigns linking back to the very thing that you say that you are an expert in? How many times do you sit on a panel talking about the very thing that you are an expert in? How many publications have written about you talking about the very things that you are an expert in? Do you see where I'm going with this? When we fail to show up consistently as an expert in the field that we are self-proclaiming ourselves to be experts in, we are doing ourselves a disservice, but we're also doing our targeted market a disservice. And let me explain to you exactly what I mean by that. So first, selfishly, and I'm going to use the word selfishly because if you only look at this piece of it as far as showing up as an expert, if you only look at it from this lens, then you are looking at it selfishly and you will not win. You will win for a moment, but you will not win in the long run. I cannot emphasize that enough. So this is only one part of how you're going to look at being a SME, but this is not the only part. Okay. So selfishly, if you think about how you need to be seen as an expert, when you aren't in spaces where you have that ability to show up, where you're able to share with people your perspectives, your experience, even for some of you, some of the education that you've gone through that has given you the resources and information available to help people move forward and win in the area that you are an expert in, you're doing yourself a disservice because no one can see you. No one even knows that you exist. That's one part of it. The second part, the most important part, is that you are now doing a disservice to your targeted market. Now remember, your targeted market is going to be made up of more than just one bucket of folks, right? So the first bucket is going to be the bucket of people who already are engaged and buying from your brand. Okay? But the second bucket, heck, the second and third bucket, let's talk about that for a minute. The second bucket is the bucket of people who know you exist, do not buy from you because they're waiting to see more because they are the cautious spender. Before they give you their money, they need more confirmation that it is the best buy. Now, we can't pretend not to know this buyer because depending on the thing, we are that same exact buyer. I was currently looking for a new fabulous coach to coach this fabulous diva boss. Every area of my business, I go through this particular time in my business where I'm like, hey, I need to level up, and I can't level up with the muscles and perspectives and information that I currently have. So it's time for me to level up with another boss who can help me level up. like I used to always say to D. Marshall, who I like love and like swear I want to be when I grow up, a coach needs a coach. Just like I remember taking psychology in high school, and my psychology teacher said, if you go to a psychologist, please make sure you go to one who also goes to a psychologist. Same thing for coaches, same things for strategists, whatever awesome subject matter expert you proclaim to be. And if you're providing a service out, you got to level up, right? So in my effort in leveling up, I wanted to see, because let me tell you, when you begin to level up with certain bosses, honey, you got to come up out of your pocket. And that is a scary thing for people who are very cautious about how they spend money, especially in the world of being an entrepreneur, where what you gather is basically what you eat. So with that, I had to do a lot of research, and I had to think about pros and cons. What type of things do I want to get involved with, and who do I want to work with, and what does their program look like, and how can we get a little bit more of insight on other opportunities or packages that may be available to me. And that took time. It did not happen overnight. I was a cautious buyer. Now, if I walk into the Henry Bendel store, I'm going to grab a bag and not even think twice about it, because I'm not a cautious spender when it comes to that particular item or brand. So for you as the business owner, for you as the brand, there are going to be a second bucket of folks out there who are looking at you and aren't sure if they can buy from you just yet. They like you. They really, really do like the information. They may even share your information with others, but before they can make that final transaction, they just need a little bit more confirmation. And then the third bucket of folks in your targeted market area, guess who that is? That's the people who don't even know you exist. So when we talk about that second lens of really substantiating yourself, of being that subject matter expert, and remembering that you need to be able to show up in a way that allows people to see you. There are people in your targeted market who are going to be blessed by you. That's why you can't only look at it from the lens of you being out front and center. Because at the end of the day, if you truly are someone who lives on purposeful leadership, regardless if you working a 9 to 5 and climbing the corporate ladder or creating a corporate ladder of your own through your own business, you should be in a space of purposeful leadership. And when you are operating in your purpose, which means that everything that you do is about uplifting the body of whoever it is that you're dealing with. For me, it's God. So for me, I'm going to explain to you, because I can't speak to you from where you are at this moment. What I want to share with you is where I am. So where I am is that I truly believe that it is my job to not be out front and center to be fabulous, but to be out front and center to bless those, to help those, because my purpose is to give glory through God, or glory to God, by using my gifts and using my talents and using all that He has given to me in my bare and empty hands to uplift the body of Jesus Christ. Woo, hallelujah. That's right. If you aren't a faithpreneur, I'm sorry, this really isn't the radio station for you. But if you can follow me there and throw your hands up and say hallelujah, all right, let's do that in fellowship. So that is absolutely important to me. And I know that there's other religions out there, there's other spiritual beliefs out there, but I always say that regardless of what you believe in, you absolutely have to believe that there is a higher power. And you need to believe that that higher power has a calling for your life. And that calling is calling you to do something. And if you're listening to this podcast, that means that you have a call to leadership, that you're being called to being able to help others through the very gifts that your higher power has given to you. And that's what makes this so much more than you saying, well, I am a subject matter expert. I am a trusted resource. I am a trusted expert in my field. It is about what do those who you are here to service those people you're here to serve, who who are you to them? And if you are not even in their purview, they can't even see you. If they have never experienced you, or if they're only experiencing you part of the time, if they're not experiencing you in the way that you were designed to show up, you aren't just doing yourself and your brand a disservice, but you are blocking blessings from others who you have been designed and put on this earth to serve. That's huge. So I say this to light a fire in your belly to call you to action. Because remember, we talked about these three things, right? Consistency. Consistency is key. Consistency in how you show up with your brand and how you operate. Consistency in how you actually build your marketing. And consistency in the way that you are substantiating yourself. That's right, positioning yourself as a subject matter expert, not just to say, hey, I'm here, but to be able to provide a service for those that you are designed to bless. That's huge. And that's really, I know that's the first, so for those of you who are like, wait, did I just get the 3 tips? No. Consistency is tip 1, but there's 3 different areas within consistency that you need to be able to take into consideration. So I hope you had your pad and pencils, and if not, being that this isn't live, you can always just go ahead and hit the rewind button and you will be okay. So now that you're okay with those areas, let's go ahead and move on to tip number 2. So the other piece of it, tip number 2, is networking. And networking is absolutely key, because when you begin to network, you begin to build relationships with people who you feel very comfortable sharing your expertise, sharing what you do, sharing your passions. And let me explain something to you. It doesn't happen overnight. I think a lot of us have a misconception of what networking means. So first of all, networking does not mean how we have created it to be today. And excuse me, when I say that, I mean networking is not going to a club at 5:30 in the evening, drinking drinks and loud music and leaving unfulfilled without any connections. Now, granted, there are platforms in those arenas that are built to bring people together. But to me, that's a meetup, right? That's a place where you get to meet some people, you get to meet some faces, and you keep it moving. If you're an introvert, it's not going to work for you. For me, networking is building tangible relationships with people that now are in your network, people that you can call on. So let me give you an example, because I love to share some awesome names of some boss babes that I can put on a platform. So the first thing is, of course, I have the networking group, the Prestige Society, and those are not members. That's my tribe. I cannot begin to tell you how much I love my sisters in Prestige. Like, don't nobody mess with my girls. Like, that's how serious I am about my members. And it's because we have a relationship where we want each other to win, and we truly care about one another. And so through that network, we're able to bounce around ideas, we're able to collaborate, and we're able to win. I think that is absolutely important, to have that access to people who are like-minded, right? So that's kind of one example of a network. And then the second example of the network is that I have this very cool circle of women who are not part of Prestige, but to me are just as important. So I'll name a few. So this week, maybe it was last week and this week has been a really, really great experience for me, and really seeing how you make these relationships extremely tangible. So Elaine Johnson, who is the founder of Latinas in Motion, as well as the CEO and founder of Mogul Mommy, and also is now doing, it's her 5th year doing the Peace, I always get names messed up, so she's going to yell at me. But anyway, I think it's Peace, Love, and Run 5K. And so when I first met Elaine, excuse me, she was being honored at Darcel Lori, who is also the founder of Moguls of Media. She was a honoree for her 2-year anniversary dinner, and then the second time I had the opportunity to like really meet her was at one of my members, Antoinette Miner's New Year New You event, and she was the keynote speaker. Loved her instantly. The cool thing is that I was also on a panel, so she had the opportunity to experience me too. So it wasn't like I was this crazy stalker person who was like, oh my gosh, I love you. The feeling was mutual. She was like, oh my gosh, you're still my sis in my head. I was like, same here, sister from another mister. I love it because she's Puerto Rican, I'm African American. So we were like, we just gonna claim the sisterhood. We're good. So in that, definitely we try to support each other, whether it's sharing information on social media to our groups, to let people know that we're both these businesses, and however we wanted to support each other, we wanted to be able to do so. But what's really cool is that we actually created a deeper connection where she just came over to my home maybe Thursday, and we were able to really talk about our businesses, like what are we trying to do, where we're trying to go, how we're trying to build, and really start talking about ways that will help us build our businesses. A lot of times when you go into these spaces where you are meeting people, whether it's networking event or what have you, we miss that piece of furthering the conversation. Just Monday, I had a meeting with the president of our Tri-County chapter of NCNW, and the reason why I wanted to meet with Wendy was because I wanted her to know why I joined NCNW, and I wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with her apart from just, the monthly meetings that we have, because I wanted her to understand really my skill sets, some of my ideas, some of the things that I really feel like I'm called to as far as social impact and leveraging entrepreneurship to help social impact. And I just needed to have a sit down with her so that we can really talk about how we can leverage my skills and my talents. And I said, and it's not in the vein of prestige, it's in the vein of Nicole. Like, Nicole has these desires to make some serious social impacts, and I want to know, as a member of NCNW, how do I make this happen? And we were able to come up with great opportunities to get me involved, which will help NCNW, which will help the president, which is Wendy Tabor, which will also help me. And then it will also help the communities that we want to impact. That is how you take these events that are filled with so many different people and actually allow yourself to have one-on-one connections with individuals who you truly resonate with. That's what I mean by network. Have conversations with people, natural and organic conversations with people that you tend to feel drawn to, and just begin to have conversations with them around how they can leverage you, how they can use you, how can you collaborate, because that's how you begin to also substantiate yourself as a subject matter expert, because people then understand you are so much more than a social media post, that you are so much more than the blurb that's on your website, but there's a true advocacy behind your voice. There's a true story behind your voice. There's a true desire because you truly have purpose that's driving everything that you do, and that's absolutely important. So once you get through the networking piece, I want you to do the third and most important thing, and I'm gonna run it back. Remember, the first thing is consistency. We need to show consistency, and consistency is broken down into 3 buckets. Consistency in the way that you operate as a business, consistency in the way that you market your message and all of your wonderful stuff to your targeted demographic, and then the third thing is inconsistency in the way that you show up. So are you doing things like panels, discussions? Are you doing blogs? Are you doing podcasts? How are you showing that there's real information here that's allowing you to show up as an expert? Okay, so now that we got that out the way, we're moving on to number 2. And number 2 is networking, and not networking like going to events and just saying, hey, I went to this party and that's it, because that leaves a lot of you ladies feeling like you're wasting your time. How do I know? Because you've told me. I've heard it. Okay, so it's about taking those type of events, finding someone you truly resonate with and building real tangible relationships with individuals that allows you to utilize and leverage your skills and your talents and collaborate with people who you truly resonate with to bless the targeted demographic that you have been put on this earth to bless with your business and your purpose. All right? And number 3 is shine. And the reason why I chose number 3 to be shine is because when we are unsure of who we are and whose we are, then what ends up happening is that we are not able to shine. We're embarrassed. We keep our heads hung low. We're in a space and a place where we aren't really sure how to show up, and we may even show up in a way that is inauthentic to who we are. And authenticity is absolutely key. And when we begin to show up as someone else, or when we begin to show up as someone who's not who we truly are, that begins to create a smoke screen that is so apparent to those on the outside looking in. And when we truly understand our purpose and why we are here, when we truly begin to take a list of our skill sets and our talents, and we begin to think about how we can use those to bless others, that is when you are able to shine. And I want you to do so unapologetically. And I want you to do so in a way that is so humble that your sincerity and your authenticity just radiates from you, your brand, and everything that people experience with your company and with you. And I want you not to be afraid to just go ahead and do it. So all of these things are absolutely important because this all ties into the bigger conversation about how are we building your tribe. So I talk about this in the past couple of podcasts that I have this course out called Build Your Tribe. And building your tribe is really helping women in business create memberships or creating tribes that either indirectly or directly allow them to create an additional stream of income. Directly can be through things like membership plans or subscription boxes, while indirectly could be through creating a groundswell in your social media influence that allows you now to get paid as an influencer. But the reality is this, that you have to be seen as a subject matter expert. You have to position yourself in a way that allows people to see you and experience you. And more importantly, you got to be authentic to who you really are. And you do that by understanding your purpose. You do that by unapologetically shining and walking confidently in that purpose, because you understand that humbly you are doing this to bless others. So I hope that we were able to bless you with some of this information that can help you build your tribe, build your authenticity, build your brand awareness. And if you need some help on how to do that, come on over to www.theprestigesociety.com. Take a look at our Pink Academy with Prestige and learn how you can do this. But for right now, for those of you who are listening, I hope you are having or will have an awesome, fabulous, and most importantly, blessed day. All right, guys.